and say welcome to everybody for joining us for this first of a series of conversations around this topic, activating and facilitating feel. Um, that's just the name of a program that I designed that grew out of a 3-month program that was called Courage to Feel. But the people who had participated in Courage to Feel asked, can this be longer? We need more time. There's just so much here. We need time for all of this information to integrate and into our lives. And that's where activating and facilitating feel came from. So we finished a year of AFF last October, November. We're starting another year this coming April. And in the meantime, we just get to share some wonderful conversations that are born of self inquiry, self awareness, and the courage to actually walk into our lives with our own inner transformation as a priority, regardless of context. So, with me here today is the beautiful Annie Kesterton. I'm going to let her introduce herself and say where she's from and why she's included herself and said yes to being in this conversation with me. Um, but what I will say in introducing this conversation with Annie is it's an honor for me to be here and share this space with you, Annie, just because of how I know you and the journey this last year that you and I have shared together has been transformative for myself and so inspiring watching how dedicated you have been to yourself and the way that you keep creating new spaces in your world. So I would love to just hand it to you and invite you to, like, how would you like us to know you? How would you like to introduce yourself? What kind of context would you like to give us for your participation here?
Golly, that's a new framing of introducing myself. Thanks, Kerri. It's so awesome to be here. And I just noticed when you were saying hi to everyone that I hadn't got myself organised, which is one of the things that we do in this course. And I got present to that, and it just really shifted something, getting me just present to being here. And anyway, so I am from Australia, as you can probably tell, by my pretty Australian accent. I live in Victoria, which is down the south. We're in summer now, so it's really hot. And what how do I want to introduce myself? So I came into this space as someone who had been a horse trainer for many years and was at a place I'd had several injuries, and I was in a place where my life was up in the air, and I'm just searching for something to get my teeth into and to give me some parameters. And a friend steered me towards Kerri, and I'm like, what does she do? I don't understand. I know something about animal communication, but I don't know. So I came on a couple of these calls whenever it was, 18 months ago, I guess. And I was still like, I don't know. I still don't understand what this is about and why are you so passionate about, to my friend, like, why are you telling me to do this? Anyway, once I saw Kerri, and I just got this sense of, well, I called it egolessness, but I just got this sense of being okay and being okay and um, peace was really what I felt. And so I was just like, I want some more of that. And I want to learn what I want to get as much of what Kerri's got to offer as I possibly can. And so I'm still here and I'll probably be here forever, Kerri. um, yeah. So what it's got, I think the transformation is I was just really angry and really in a space of being lost and not being able to ride and all this kind of stuff. And now I just feel really peaceful. And I, I was thinking this morning, it's a bit like I feel like I've had psychotropics, not in a kind of nutty kind of way, but in a um, appreciating life. Like I think that's what they do. I don't know. I haven't had them, but I think that, getting present and going, wow, like I walk out the door and I just go, wow, at ants and the sun and just, yeah, I'm just in awe of life now. Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
thank you so much. It's really, really beautiful because I remember, you know, it's actually probably the most common question I've had over the entire time I've ever offered anything professionally is, Kerri, what is it that you actually do? Like nobody understands what I do. And for a long time, I tried to make it understandable. Do I call it animal communication? Do I call it healing work? Do I call it therapy? No, it's not therapy, but it's therapeutic. And ultimately, so what I started doing is looking within myself, like, okay, when I speak, what prompts me to speak? Where does it come from and why? If I'm going to say this, how do I know I want to say that instead of this? I started, self-reflecting to find the part of me that is always like dynamically in motion, but always congruent and consistent. And it's a feeling. It goes, for me, goes all the way back to infancy and childhood, that when I first became aware of that feeling, that space in myself that I could always trust, I was always okay, not in conflict. Um, and so now what I do and what I've done that, you know, turned into the program that I shared with you, Annie, and all the tools and stuff, is to prioritize being aware of why I do what I do. How does it feel? Where's it coming from? And um, so that's just how I see myself, right? Everything I share is a ripple of what it's taken for me to be able to walk in the world the way that I do. And you mentioned that word egolessness. I would love to hear you talk about that, because I see, like, I think people have different sense of what it is to have an ego or to be egoless. And I know there's a lot of judgment for having an ego or being egoless. So can you tell me, because you brought up that topic, can you tell me what it means to you when you're using that word? What does it touch in you, and where do you want to take us with that idea?
Oh, um, before I started the work with you, I'd done some reading of Buddhist texts and stuff like that. So the word came from there, but I really didn't have a concept of it other than thinking that ego was puffing yourself up, or that people say, oh, he's got a big ego, that kind of thing. And then at some point, I realised that the opposite. It's polarized. Ego has a positive and a negative. So when I'm self-deprecating, which I have a tendency to do a lot of, that is ego too. And so, and what I just felt from you was that lack of judgment, and lack of judgment of yourself, and lack of judgment of others and me. It's all about me. So, and it was just lovely, and feeling like if I go into a group of people like you guys, I would feel like, oh, and even the first few meetings that we had, I would be beating myself up because I said something wrong. And I think once I blew my nose and hadn't muted myself. And for about half an hour afterwards, I was slapping myself around in my head, just like, it's just ridiculous. It's part of ego because it's part of, for me, this is my understanding of it. It's part of looking good. And so I wasn't looking good. So I had to beat myself up about that because you should be better and you should be perfect and you know, and so I just didn't get that here in this space. It was all me doing it. There was none of it coming from elsewhere, And I'm like, whoa, I don't have to do that anymore. And looking at the judgments and that it's all a work in progress, of course, and that's why I'm going to be here forever, because it's like horse training. There's nowhere to get to. You just keep moving the goalposts when you go, oh, I can see, I remember saying at one point, I'm just so excited about where this is going to go. But then, 6 months later, I'm so excited about where this is going to go because we just keep evolving. And it's not like I've done so much personal development all of my life in different facets, and like really following that through. And then going, okay, well, there's something different over here, and then I'll follow that through to the end. And then, and there's this whole spiritual piece that was missing out of all of that.
Mm.
And there was also still a lot of judgment in whether I was doing the techniques correctly, and all of that. And so I just get this feeling of just being able to leave that. When you practice, like if there's any thought of judgment. And when we started doing that work on the judgment, I was like, well, how do you make a decision? Because I'm not very good at making decisions anyway, and having opinions about things or expressing my opinion. But I see that it's with the egolessness, you talk about the word discerning, that you're discerning rather than judging. And so, it comes, it's getting out of the head and going, how does that feel? Last weekend, I don't know if you remember, Kerri, but I was talking about going to a music festival, and I went last weekend. And the decision about, it doesn't sound like much, but to me, it was the big thing. I've been keeping myself isolated a lot socially for the last few years. And I was invited to this music festival with my sister. And I thought, I'm going to utilize these tools to decide whether to go rather than, is it the right thing to do? And will my sister think I'm better or worse if I go? And, am I going to look bad? Am I going to wear the right clothes? Am I going to say the right, all that palaver that you go on with? And I just let it all go and was able to go, how does it feel? How will it feel if I go or if I choose to go? And how will it feel if I don't? And which one would I rather feel? And it's not like it's the right answer then. And it's not like I'm being good or I'm being better or I'm worse or I'm, all of that judgment stuff, all of those polarized kind of concepts. It was just like, do I want to feel this or would I prefer to feel that? And then it's okay. Whatever I decide, it's not right or wrong. So yeah, it's really cool.
So
And I had a
awesome.
really fun time. And even I got up in the mosh pit and I was dancing a little bit. And I was like, oh, because normally I'd be so self-conscious about how I was dancing. And I'm like, I was going to swear there, not trying not to swear, you know, let it go. Like, just do your thing. It's okay.
I love it so much. It makes me think of like when I give myself a break from judging myself, it becomes clear that other people are not thinking about me the way I think they're thinking about me. You know, it's that
If they are,
projection.
does it really matter?
Yeah, right. Like you go ahead and judge me. I'll be over here dancing like Elaine from Seinfeld, right? And and just enjoying myself. I just love it. I just love it. You talked about uh, it was the horses ultimately that the connections through horses that helped you find me, and that's how most people find all of this. And like the horses, I think, will be governing my life probably forever in some grand or subtle way. But what you're talking about is not necessarily about training horses. How where is the blend? Like where is the blend with working with horses and organizing yourself? Because you also mentioned that you realized before we started that you hadn't organized yourself, right? So this is why a lot of people ask, or they say, oh, this is animal communication. And a lot of people, that's how they have found me, through different books and stuff. But how do you talk about that? Like, how would you say this relates to the horses, and where you're at now as we're like going into our second year together?
I think I have to say something first, that I I have these, they're almost pre-thoughts. There's like this sense, and I guess it's a feeling,
Mhm.
funny that, uh, about what I want to say.
Oh, hang on. Go ahead.
But the I think you've said, it's uh, creating new neural pathways at the time. So I haven't got a clear, um,
Go ahead.
I haven't got a clarity yet around uh, that. I don't know. That's not probably very helpful for everyone. But I was just like in this space of, oh, I want to say something, but I don't know what it was. It's something, yeah. And so I have this sense of like that's a new way of thinking,
Mm.
and then I've just got to be okay with that and just let it go. Anyway, sorry for that little diversion. That it was,
No, that was a
uh,
gorgeous diversion. Thank you.
so the meshing of the horses. So that really, it was not only my relationship with my friend that was it's a a horse relationship. Yes, it stems from horses, uh, that got me here. But it was really for me that horses have been my whole life, and that was in a way taken out from under me with I've had a spinal surgery. So I'm now riding again. But at the time I was like, whoa, what's life if I can't ride? Um and work, because that was my work. And so I was in this space. So they definitely have brought me to this space. And but also that organizing myself, and I think that's where my little brain fart before came from. But I'll come back to that. Um, that being in that organized state uh, is what has us be around, show up differently for people and for our horses. And so for me, the horses, I guess, uh, it's probably that was the more fierce motivator for
Mm.
doing something different, because the horses were so important to me. So I'm just seeing myself in the sun's coming
It's
up, so
getting
it's
very
doing different.
dramatic. Yes.
Yes, it's doing different things out the window. Um, so yeah, the horses for me were the motivator to go. I've got to find something. Got to. What am I going to do with my horses if I can't ride? I've got to do something. I've got to find something. So there was definitely that. And then what I'm finding with the horses is just very amazing. Like, you know, communicating with them on a completely, yeah, in a completely different way. And not only communicating, like having a conversation, but also uh, just showing up differently, as I said, for them.
Yeah.
And uh, it just is it's a different experience. That's really what it comes down to. And the whole, like the music festival, it was a different experience being at a music festival, but just being okay, you know,
Yeah.
without all that. So the organising, did you want me to touch on that, or do you want to
Yeah.
go? Do
Go.
you want to?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah. There's something else I can I can say, but I love listening to you. Please go ahead.
So some of the tools that it, I don't know how much you want me to go into it, really.
Well,
But,
let me do this. Let me say this real quick that
mm,
you're talking about it's a different experience with the horses and about, the communication changes with the horses. The communication changes among humans as well. And what I love about it is, you know, for humans, we think communication is like directional, like I am saying this to you, but communication in all of life is showing up and just being as you are. And my presence alone will communicate. I'm anxious. I'm relaxed. I'm needing something. I'm wanting something. I'm withdrawn. It's just, we're the ones that put words to all of it. And this is, this is really at the heart of everything, is that when I'm aware of what I feel, what's going on in here, whether or not I have words for it, then I'm more aware of what others are receiving, what is true, what is actually being communicated. And horses, as many of us know, are like such an amazing, rich playmate, to get to know that part of ourselves. Um, and that's where activating and facilitating feel comes from, is giving us a way to relate to ourselves, because everything else is feeling us, whether we're aware of it or not. That's the beauty of it for me. And that's very literally where all of this has come from my childhood, which I've documented extensively in books and things like that. But I would love to hear, actually, I think it'd be really helpful to hear you talk about, you said that you've done a lot of personal growth stuff and personal development for a long time. And I don't know if you've experienced, different kinds of things called therapy, but you said you wanted something different. And so, what is different? Like, what is the different? Because I know you studied NLP and you've studied lots of things. So what is the different that has touched you in such a helpful way?
yeah, and it really comes down to that ego stuff and the judgment that, as I was kind of saying before, having to get it right. So the one of the things you were talking about in what you're communicating to people in both of the major things that I did spend a lot of time with a company called Landmark Education. I did 5 years with them, and then probably about the same in studying NLP. And both of them, there is it's almost a script, if you like, and that you are doing. So let me give you an example. For one of the things in Landmark Education, they talk about being responsible for your communication in how you are heard. So, and how you listen. But it's all up here. It's all in your head. And so, then there would still be the availability to judge that. Did I do it right? That, uh, yeah, all of that. Did I do it right? Am I interpreting what they're saying right? All of this kind of heavy stuff. And, and in NLP, it's a bit more like, am I framing things right? Am I um, using the right technique? And, again, it's all right and wrong. Whereas this work I don't sit here, what I used to do was be sit here thinking of all the things I should say, and I've got to, get it all in order and all of this kind of stuff. And then it comes out of my mouth. And did I do it again? Did I do it right? And then of course, my favorite thing is to be beating myself up with a stick because I didn't, or yeah, feeling a failure, all those kind of things. Whereas this just coming from feel. I didn't even think about what I was going to say coming in here. Like, I'm just going to feel my way. And if I flounder a bit, that's okay. That's life. That's people. And so it's, it's a, it's not that the stuff I learned was bad or wrong or anything. It was really helpful and it was really interesting. And there is another layer, and and it just feels a lot freer, I think, and then incorporating all of those things together with this, I can come from a place of, like I said before, we talked about the t-shirt game is one of the tools. And like what I was saying before about going to the music festival, how does it feel to go and how does it feel not to go? And which one feels better? So it's in communicating, it's that, like it's showing up for the horses, showing up for you guys, showing up for my partner, being in that space of being true to myself. And yeah, there's not that kind of push pull kind of stuff going. Yeah.
Amazing. It's so beautiful, Annie. Thank you. And I just love just watching, over the year, 18 months, watching uh you relax within yourself has been so gorgeous. Like watching you show up here, it's just so beautiful. Thank you. There's one other question I want to explore together, but before we go in there, I just want to share with the others that are here. If you want to share a reflection, share your thoughts or ask a question. Annie, are you open to people asking a question of you if they have one?
Oh,
Yeah. So
sure.
if you've got any kind of question for Annie or a question for me, a question or a reflection, a comment, anything, then please use the raise hand button. Because of the way I have my screen configured right now, it'll be easiest for me to see the little raised hands. But please feel free to participate because the whole point is not to have Kerri be the talking head all the time. Because side note, Annie, I actually a lot of times in the background, I feel like maybe I'm floundering, but maybe I've just learned to make it look good, right? I don't know. Just keep talking, and it'll come right back to your heart, one way or the other.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, the invitation stands. Holly, thank you for raising your hand. I'm going to ask Annie this next question, and then we'll come to you. Um, So, what I wanted to ask you to talk about for a sec is we're now starting AFF 2.0. You and I and this amazing group that all said, yes, absolutely, let's keep this going after the first year. Part of that is by choice, by self participation, acting as a mentor for the people coming into 1.0 starting in April. So I just would love to hear your thoughts about playing that role as a mentor for a new group of people. Um, Anything at all, like what draws you to it, how you feeling about it, what anything at all. Why would you say yes to something like that?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I just love this work, and I think that, uh, and I love what it builds in relationship with others, whether it's horses or people, but obviously in the question it's about people. And being able to share my experiences, I feel perhaps will open up something or help others find their experiences, but also that it creates the more the more people or the more diversity, the more understanding, I think, for me. So I will also be learning from you guys, That's uh, that's kind of how it works. You get to see things from a different perspective. And that's how the course, while we're going through the course, that's how it works. That, Kerri will give us a tool, and then people will share their experiences of what's gone on for them. And then you get to learn from them. And I'm sure Kerri does learn from us as well. And it's, you know, yeah, so there's a lot of that. And uh, I'm just excited about all of it. I'm excited about mentoring because I'm excited about other people getting what I've got out of it. And I want to I want to share some of that.
That's so awesome. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're so awesome. And thank you for, again, your openness and courage to just show up with me here and let me prompt these things from you. That, like, this was not rehearsed, anybody. We didn't have a list of questions. We just dove in. So Annie, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Holly,
Kerri.
I said, thank you. I saw you put your hand down. Do you still want to pop on and
Yeah,
contribute at all?
I just wanted to share real quick. I had a doctor's appointment in town. That's why I couldn't be 100% present. So it's
Mm.
50-50. Anyways, but listening to Annie talk as I'm driving, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. I think that's me before Kerri. And after Kerri is somebody who's free. Basically, what all she described, it's a sense of freedom to be myself. So for that, I appreciate you, Kerri, and Annie for sharing, because it was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly me.
Thank you so much, Holly. You're the best. So happy you're here. Carolee, you can unmute yourself. The floor
Hi.
is open. Hi.
I just wanted to say thank you to Annie. I've uh, just I've been interested in Kerri's work for a very long time, but I just find it really refreshing what you were saying, Annie, because it's almost like I feel, well, I can't do the program because I'm not good enough yet. When of course the program is to make us, like you, I've done years and years of personal development, spiritual development, and it was all heady and all it was obviously coming from the wrong place, and I really want to feel, and I do feel very strongly, and yet I do everything in my life to suppress all the feeling, so I think that I can't feel anything. And I did actually take the courage to feel course, and I just I didn't apply myself to it, and I think probably in a group it will be, you know, totally different. But thank you, Annie, because you just made me see that it's okay to be where I'm at rather than having to be sort of eligible, if you like, to participate. So thank you.
That's perfect, Carol. And can I just add that you were saying that it was coming from the wrong place or something, that the other things that you did, and uh, it's just a different place. It's just coming from a different place, and there's I think what I experienced, that there's just more than just that. There's another level, and that's where we're playing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Carolee, there you go. Awesome. Thank you. It's so beautiful to me. It's been so a lot of why I shared these uh the programs, the conversations the way that I do, is from the experience that I've had with an organization called Service Space. And it's a global organization that's really about creating ripples of inner transformation through small acts of kindness. The approach to um, group interactions that are about reflections, appreciative inquiry, listening to each other. I got so much from watching how people receive each other. And just like Kerri, you and Annie just did, and Holly, it just gives us the opportunity to recognize ourselves in one another. And to me, that's the greatest learning, right? Like Annie, you were saying, these programs, NLP and all sorts of learning certification type of programs, there's a structure you're supposed to learn. There's a language that you need to learn, um, and a correct way to be about it, which means somebody else is telling me what's important to learn. But when we're playing with the groups the way that we do, and listening to each other for the purpose of feeling ourselves, right? It becomes very much self-guided or self-referenced learning, even though I might say, hey, let's play with this tool today. Hey, let's look at this idea today. Hey, let's cross-reference this and that and the other. And then everybody shares reflections. It's not about learning the system. It's about letting a structure be in service to our own transcendence, to our own expansion, our own ability to transcend the structure. It became clear to me a long time ago, right? Whether it's a religion or a university or a belief system or even science, right? Or physics, or really any structure, when you connect with yourself and you really sort of follow the breadcrumbs of where that structure is taking you. And I encourage you, don't take my word for this, go study on it yourself. But the purpose of every structure is to help you transcend the structure so you can function as who you actually are in that freedom that Holly's talking about, right? The purpose of NLP might not be to just be an advocate of NLP for the rest of eternity, right? The purpose of NLP is to give us a structure by which we might better understand how we function, and then get curious what else exists, right? What else is here? And I think a lot of people, they get to that point because they do all the workshops and they do all the work and they have all of the different certifications or whatever the case might be. But then they're left, scratching their heads like, all right, well, I know there's something else, where's the next certification? And that is precisely why this will never be a certification, because this isn't about a system. This isn't about perpetuating a system. It's about creating the spaces where we can listen each other into being and offer not just the tools that the way that I've created them. I mean, heart math tools are spectacular. And there's so many people for whom heart breathing is the transcendence, and it has changed their lives. And the best tool to use is the one that's effective in the moment, right? Regardless of where it came from. So, everything that we're talking about here isn't about, Kerri's tools are the best tools. It's about creating a space like Annie, you were talking about, where I give myself the freedom to recognize what's genuine for me and cultivate the space to live and speak and act from that awareness or that consciousness or that coherence or that level of integration or that self-knowledge. There's lots of words we can use, right? So everything, the tools that we've shared, people have told me that it's very much like heart math, like the effect is like heart math. And I know the effect can also be like you've been in meditation. And so, Annie, do you want to talk about that at all? Like the actual felt experience of what the tools provide, how you use the tools and what changes in you when you do?
Well, I was just thinking when you were talking about structures that it really is an experience of transcending structure. So, like you were saying, with say religions or whatever, that the reasoning behind all of that is to have you get. This is my assertion anyway. uh, all of these, and what I assert that we're all looking for in life is that peace and that place and that congruence and that freedom. And so we're kind of just bypassing all of that somehow and just going there. Like there's, it's so, I think my experience of the difference between the tools or how you teach the tools or the tools themselves than the heart math, because I've done that too, is that yeah, there is less structure and it's so much more simple. It's just like, let's go straight to their source. And there isn't that, did I do it right? There's none of that. Whereas I think, my experience of heart math was, again, there's these things that you've got to learn. And whereas I'm just getting to your question, it just came back to me. Your experience, it really is about the experience of it. And so rather than all these things that you've got to learn, that it's all, for me, experiential learning. And so you don't actually have to learn anything here. You try this thing on, see how it feels, and then you just get to generate that feeling from here on, which is not intellectual. It's not, you don't get it right. So if in organizing myself, like I was talking about at the very start of this call, that I got into the space of feeling love and connection and the feeling of that. And I just got into the space of that feeling. I didn't have to get it right because I just feel that. And so then whatever happens from there just happens. And if I start going, you're not saying things right or you're going off on a tangent, it's just like, oh, you've lost that connection. You've lost that feeling. And so one of the things is, like, we all go looking for happiness or joy or love or, all of these things, whereas we could start there. And I think that's the experience for me, that we're coming from that place. And yes, you scramble and you lose it and you forget. So that, probably the hardest thing is to remember to do that. But then you can create triggers like, I feel icky or I feel uncomfortable. Oh, I just need to try that on again. And it's not, so in NLP, you would change your state to change your behavior, but it's still like doing it here. It's not, for me, perhaps it's not designed to be like that, but the way it was taught to me and the way I experienced it, it was still all here. Whereas what we're doing here is feel. What does it feel like? What does that t-shirt feel like? What does that feel like? And it's quite easy to get in touch with that feeling and just live there.
So gorgeous. Thank you. Beautifully said. We have just a few minutes left in our hour. So I just want to open the floor. If anybody has a reflection or a comment you'd like to share, this would be a really good time. Because what I'm feeling would be really fun to do is walk us through floating thank you, which is one of the most basic tools that we share, just to enjoy the experience, right? And I think that would be an amazing way to finish up our call. I think I'd like to do that, and then we'll finish our call with just a minute of silence together to recognize how we feel now at the end of our call, whether it's the same or different from how we felt when we started. And then to take that minute to just let the beautiful feelings of connection and ease and love radiate through us out into the field and find their way to anybody or anything that could truly be nourished by the ripples that we've created here today. Before I step into floating thank you, Annie, is there anything in closing you would like to share or offer, and anything at all?
Uh, um, well, what you're saying, one of the other things that I really got that's hadn't occurred to me before is how when you do this stuff, how it affects somebody else.
Mm.
Can I give a quick example? We had new neighbours that came over for dinner, and the guy is talking, and I was feeling a bit uncomfortable about what he was talking about. And, he had opinions about this and that and the other thing. And I'm just like, and then I just got myself organised, and it completely changed how he not only appeared to me, but how he was towards his thinking towards other people. And it wasn't necessarily what I said, but how I said it. And that's coming from that place of open heartedness. And I think you'll all get experience of that. But what I'm really getting at is in my few years before Kerri, I guess, I was like, I really want to do something that makes a difference, like that, and so it's out there. Whereas what I get from this is how much getting yourself in that space of open-heartedness and floating thank you and all of those tools, how it does serve the planet, like it does filter out into anyone who needs it or who's open to it. And that's amazing. And the horses, of course, because it's really obvious with the horses when you are being different around them. Yeah.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's just play with floating thank you just for funsies. And again, like Annie was saying, this isn't about intellectualizing or trying to get it right. It's about being curious for, oh, I wonder what it's going to feel like, right? And so I'll just start by saying thank you before we start, as just for your grace to play along and participate for a couple of minutes. And so here's how floating thank you starts out. I think we all have had an experience in our lives when somebody did something nice for us, or we watched something nice happen for somebody else, and our whole body, like every cell, just went, oh, thank you. Maybe you call it relief. I'm not calling it gratitude, because gratitude tends to take people, that word can take people up above our eyebrows. So let's just call it floating thank you, or call it which happens before the word, right? So just like I can remember a picture of a red rose, I can call up the experience of fresh cookies or fresh bread, like, I can bring that sense back into my awareness. I can also bring that sense of, oh, thank you, back into my body's awareness. So for 10 luxurious seconds, and I'll count, you don't even have to count. Let's bring that feeling forward. Like, no work, just don't work harder than you would to picture a red rose. Just bring, oh, thank you, back into your awareness. And for 10 seconds, let that feeling float to your thinker. It's not sending, it's not a gratitude treatment or a body scan. It's simply engaging with our natural capacity to generate what we already have experienced, to regenerate. Oh, thank you. And then pretend. If your mind says, I don't know how to do that, pretend that you do. And just imagine, what would it be like if I just let that feeling float to my thinker, as if to say, you know what, buddy, thanks for how hard you work for me. And that's it. Right? It's not, thank you for ruining my life, you a-hole. No, no, no. It's actually genuinely recognizing that the mind and the thinker, whether it's helping or not, it thinks it's trying to help. It's working to try to help. So for 10 luxurious seconds, bring that feeling into your body. Oh, thank you. And then just let it float to your thinker, and we'll see what life feels like on the other side of those 10 luxurious seconds. We don't have to qualify it or quantify it, just watch. If we genuinely dedicate 10 seconds to offering that feeling to my thinker for 10 seconds. Oh, thank you. 4 more seconds. Beautiful. So now, without abandoning that feeling, just notice what, if anything, is different after that 10 seconds. Not better or worse, different. And it could be a big thing, it could be an almost imperceptible thing, but notice what, if anything, is different. And let your mind's awareness acknowledge it and go, oh yeah, that is different than when we started. Maybe you have words, maybe you don't. If you do, recognize the words. And then, and this is the fun part, bring your awareness back to, oh, thank you. Regenerate and float it again to the mind, because we asked it to play a game and it did. And so we want to float thank you again. Hey, buddy, thanks for playing, which is a feeling that floats, and the mind can recognize, oh, you're acknowledging me. Yes, thank you, for 10 luxurious seconds. Three more seconds. Beautiful. So now, with that beautiful connection, that beautiful friendship you just offered between the mind and the body and the heart, let's just take a minute of silence together to close our beautiful hour. Thank you all for being here. Your presence is invaluable. And Annie, I can't thank you enough for being on this journey with me, for your willingness to share your voice and your presence and your experience and your heart. It's priceless. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerri.
Thanks again, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. If you ever have questions, please connect with me, and hopefully we will see you in 2 weeks for our next conversation. Take care, everyone. Aloha.